everyone, Mitch coming in from the Command Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got an exciting one for you. I'm going to be talking about some commanders that win without ever attacking. Let's jump into it. So, first up, we've got Mystics of the Is Magnus. That's right, spell slinging galore can definitely be a great way to, well, win the game without ever attacking. This is a great commander for that kind of a strategy. A 2/2 Goblin Wizard for 4 mana, and is it? Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value greater than the number of experience counters you have, you get an experience counter. And by the way, instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each experience counter you have. So basically, just cast a bunch of, low-to-the-ground cantrips throughout the game that progressively get bigger, so you get more and more, experience counters, essentially, and then eventually all your spells cost basically nothing, while you're also proliferating to gain even more counters, obviously. Yeah, I mean, basically kind of like your middle, the ground, cantrips essentially just end up becoming low-to-the-ground cantrips as well. So you can just draw through your deck, get to some insane cards, and all of a sudden you are casting a, mana geyser for just 2 mana and gaining 10 mana from that, or say a Brass's Bounty for just 1 mana. I guess I should read what this one does too. For each land you control, create a treasure token. So again, let's say you're at turn 5, 6, 7, and all of a sudden you cast this for 1 mana. Now you've got 7 treasures out of that, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, let's just cast this, followed up by that, another ritual spell, some draw spells, getting into ultimately Jaya's Immolating Inferno, which again, with the cost reduction from your commander, can be cast for an absurdly low cost of, again, probably just 2, for an absurd amount of damage on top of all the other rituals you just cast. Again, spell slinging here, there, and everywhere, dealing X damage to each of up to three targets. If it was X targets, that'd be even better, but there you go. 3 targets. So basically, this can just be a, I just dealt 40 damage to each of my opponent's faces type card. So you can finish off your opponents in a variety of ways with Mystics of the Is Magnus. And one of those ways can just be never attacking your opponents ever. You can literally sit back the entire game, put your commander in play, and just say, I'm out of the combats. Don't worry about me, everyone. I mean, they're probably going to attack you, but I'm out of the combats. Cast your spells, gain your experience counters. Again, cast bigger spells as if they're cantrips, essentially, just drawing into even more cards. Ritual, and then massive explosive damagey spell. Have fun. Moving on, one of my personal favorite commanders, one of the most adorable commanders out there ever, Beldiggriff. Yeah, Beldiggriff is absurdly cool and can definitely win the game without even attacking. It's just that cool. A 4/4, I believe it's actually a Beldiggriff. I think that a rat had happened. For 4 mana in Bant, pay a white, flying until end of turn, target opponent gains 2 life. Pay a blue, return Beldiggriff to its owner's hand, target opponent may draw a card. Pay green, trample until end of turn, put a hippo token into play under target opponent's control. Treat this token as a 1/1 green creature. Now, when it comes to forcing your opponents to do things, you can force your opponents to gain life with this. Unfortunately, you don't have ways to take advantage of that because those ways are basically in black like False Cure. You can, make your opponent attempt to draw a card. Again, they can choose not to, so that's not really the direction you're going to go to when you win because you can't force your opponents to draw out with that. That being said, what you can do is you can force your opponents to get hippos, which might not seem like a good idea because, you're giving your opponents things, but of course, you can wheel and deal. You can make some deals. You don't even ever have to attack because the only creature you're ever going to have in play, most likely, for most of the game, is Beldiggriff. And then all of a sudden, you're playing things like, Tutor Priest. And all of a sudden, those gifts that you're giving your opponents, the little hippos that you say, oh, here, have this hippo. Here, have that hippo. I even named them. I drew them. And that's kind of what I did for mine anyways. And they're so cute. But now all of a sudden, they are punishing your opponents. All while you have Ghostly Prison type effects in play to prevent your opponents from actually attacking you. That being said, whenever a creature enters battlefield under opponent's control, you may have that player lose 1 life with Tutor Priest, so you're like, hey, here you go, here's a gift. Oh, by the way, it's going to cost you something. And eventually, again, when you have the mana, because you're going to be ramping this entire time and controlling the board, you're giving your opponents basically a way to take them out. And yes, there are ways to win with combat with Reigns of Power, which you can definitely do, but also you can just win by playing things like Approach the Second Sun. If it was cast in your hand, you've cast another spell named Approach the Second Sun from this game, you win the game. Otherwise, basically it goes in your library 7 from the top and you gain 7 life. So essentially you cast it once, you cast it twice, and then you win the game. Or you might have some just ways to win, when it comes to alternative win conditions like Test of Endurance. I gained some life, I'm doing some things. Enchant for 4 mana. At the beginning of your upkeep, you got 50 more life, you win the game. In a control shell with Beldiggriff again, you're going to be able to protect this, you're going to be able to control things, you're going to be able to control your life total. And of course, you maybe have some fog effects as well. Maybe like one like, Riot Control where actually gains you life too. So you can pad your life total, you can gain life, you can win with this, or other alternative win conditions. Again, Beldiggriff is one that doesn't have to be aggressive. You can definitely be aggressive with it. You can definitely go in a, again, like Reigns of Power type shell where you give opponents a bunch of hippos, take control of them essentially, and then swing. Or like Azuri's Predation, give your opponents hippos, and then, take all those out, and then you've got an army of 4/4s, and then you swing. But you don't have to swing with this one. You can go, all right, you know what? I'm going to control the board. I'm going to be giving you all these hippos. Maybe I've got some alternative win conditions, or maybe I just have Suture Priest in play, and I punish you for me giving you hippos. What's not to love about that? Moving on, we've got Kenri. Kenri the Return King, a 5/5 human noble for 5 mana in white, but it's actually in Wooburg because all the words. Here we go. Pay a red. All creatures gain trample and haste till up turn. Pay 1 in a green. Put a counter target creature. Pay 2 in a white. Target player gains 5 life. Pay 3 in a blue. Target player draws a card. And pay 4 in a black. Put target creature card from a graveyard on the battlefield under its owner's control. Again, this commander is definitely one that can be built combat-centric. You can definitely be aggressive. Again, you can give your creatures trample and haste. Great. All right, swing. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that at all. In fact, many of these other abilities essentially give you just reasons to win the game, ways to win the game essentially outside of combat. Just to give one example, I mean, how about Zedru the Dawnwaker? This can actually be your companion. It can be quite the fun companion for this commander because it says, well, the requirement is each permanent card in your starting deck has an activated ability. What your commander does, abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana that costs less than 1 mana. Cool, so now all of a sudden, Kenri's abilities cost 2 less, which can be very impactful. Especially when you maybe have something like, Composite Gold. Sacrifice it, add Wooburg to your mana pool. A very simple ability, but one that can just be absolutely devastating in combination with Kenri. Because all of a sudden, you're like, okay, sacrifice Composite Golem, get the 5 mana. Oh, wait, I've got Zedru in play. Okay, my commander's ability, pay 4 in a black. Now it just costs 2 in a black. 3 mana in total to reanimate my Composite Golem again and again and again and again. All of a sudden, just looping it. Getting basically, infinite death triggers, infinite ETBs. If you've got anything else in play, take advantage of that. But you really don't need that because, you've got infinite mana basically of all colors except for black. And again, Rule Slayer's out there. Sure, I know it's not infinite, but a trillion. Whatever. Okay. You've got enough mana to just dump into target player, draws a card as many times as you want. And again, you can target yourself and draw your deck if you really want to, but you don't have to. You just target your opponents and say, okay, you draw out, you lose the game. Of course, there are other ways to win, though, outside of, forcing your opponents to draw cards. You can just keep reanimating again, say, ETB drain kind of creature. Or, again, if you've got any kind of creature that's like, creature died, drain people as well. Or if you've got, again, False Cure, which I talked about earlier. Again, whenever an opponent would gain life, they lose twice that much life, basically. Or I think it's a player, but regardless. Being able to force opponents to gain life, you can go in that direction as well. There are plenty of ways for you to win the game with Kenri. And yeah, Kenri can just basically be, any way that you can generate infinite mana, you just win the game by making a player draw a card. So yeah, even though Kenri can be an aggressive commander that can, force combats, by being like, okay, cool, let's go trample haste, let's start swinging and get aggressive. You don't have to do that. You can just sit back and say, you know what, Kenri, let's control things, let's go combo, let's win. Let's keep things rolling, though, with Teysa Karlov. Oh, my goodness. Now, this is a commander that definitely can be a combat-centric commander. You definitely can win in combat. Creature tokens you control have Vigilance and Lifelink. That is part of the card, even though many, including myself, tend to forget that that exists on the card because it's completely not necessary on the card for this to be a commander that is incredibly powerful and incredibly popular. And literally, if you didn't have that on the commander, this might have, 2 less decks on EDH Rec. Maybe. I don't think there's anyone out there that's like, well, because it doesn't have that, I'm not playing it anymore. That's not why it's here. A 2/4 human advisor for 4 mana in Orzov. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers additional time. Basically, Death Harmonicon doubles up your death triggers. And because of that, well, it is an absurdly powerful aristocrat-style commander. Anytime you've got creatures dying, you are doubling up that effectiveness, and it can just get really absurd because you can have things like, okay, I'm in play. All right, by the way, when I die, I make a token. You're like, oh, thank you, Doom Traveler or whoever you are. All right, let's make 2 instead. And then I'll sacrifice those things with my free sacrifice out like Viserys here. And all of a sudden, I've got, 3 death triggers essentially off of 1 creature, which turns into 6 death triggers elsewhere, basically. You're just making absurd plays with this. I mean, the list of cards that can take advantage of this just goes on and on and on. But just to show some in the same vein, we've got Blood Artist. Vein, get it? Joke? Blood? No. Anyways, a 0/1 vampire for 2 mana in black. Whenever it or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Drain your opponents. I mean, again, like targeting drain too, so this is any creature dying on the board. This triggers. Taste of doubles. You are making a player lose 2 life. Or again, you can spread it out, but more than likely you're going to be like, you're the biggest threat. Let's take you down, okay? Zulport Cutthroat. This one isn't even, like, I need a target. No, this is just all your opponents lose life. Whenever another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Again, there are so many of these different types of cards these days that you just get like a bundle of them in play and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Oh yeah, by the way, whenever any creature I control dies, well, let's see, you're all losing, I don't know, like 10 life apiece because you just have all of these different effects. I mean, again, we literally just got another one in Tark here. Venerated Stormsinger, 3/3 immobilize 1. So there you go. You can make a creature with this too. Whenever this creature or another creature controlled dies, each opponent loses 1 life. You gain 1 life. Basically, just again, Zulaport Cutthroat. We're just getting more and more and more of these. At some point, we're just kind of like Blood Artist deck, where you just like chuck all the Blood Artists in a deck, and it's going to be pretty effective still, even though you're not really putting much thought into anything else with it because they're just an effective type of card. Again, especially with Taste of Karlov, where you can just, you can attack, okay? You can do that. But yeah, you can just sit back and say, you know what? Instead of that, I'm just going to actually just drain you all. I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to get creatures in play that when they die, they make other creatures or whatever, have those types of effects in play. I'm going to sacrifice them, my free sacrifice house. I'm going to drain all my opponents, and I'm just going to just pad my life total to oblivion while you all go down. I should have mentioned as well, by the way, if you are interested in this commander or any of these commanders, I do have deck techs on many of them. Make sure you check those out on the channel and consider picking up those decks as well. They're quite fun, or considering picking up the cards on this episode. Cardless link in the description below. Up next on the list, a sick, disgusting, amazing commander, Orvar the All-Form. This is a commander that is so incredibly unique and so incredibly well pushed. It's kind of ridiculous, but luckily it's in mono blue and not 5-color. But I mean, although I am a 5-color fanatic, so I would kind of like it to be in 5-color, but I'm glad it's not kind of. Anyways, a 3/3 shapeshifter with changeling for 4 mana. Mistform Ultimus, this is plus many things. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if it targets 1 or more permanents you control, create a token's copy of one of those permanents. And by the way, also, just randomly, and I forget about this too, whenever a spell or ability opponent controls cause you to discard a card, create a token's copy of the target permanent. That usually doesn't happen because you're in Commander. It's not going to be in your hand. That being said, being able to just copy absolutely anything that you target is incredible. So there's a lot of directions you can go with this. Of course, I mean, you can win with combat with this one. You can go like, oh, hey, I've got these creatures in play. Let's make bigger creatures. Let's just make more big creatures. All right, cool. All right, another copy of it, another copy of it, another copy of it. I win the game. Cool. You don't need to do that, though. You really don't. You can just sit back, relax, and just cast something like, I don't know, Aether Flux Reservoir, maybe? Artifact for 4. Whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn. Pay 50 life. It deals 50 damage to our creature or player. You can hold opponents hostage with this once you get above 50, number 1. Number 2, you can very easily get well above 50, because here's the thing with this one especially. Again, you're going to be casting a ton of spells, a ton of low-to-the-ground spells, many of which can also just I get extra lands, I gain more mana, I do all these things. Cool. All right, good for me. So I've got a bunch of mana to work with. But of course, you can also just cast spells that can target, well, basically anything, like a Thermal Flux. And say, you know what, I'd like an extra copy of that reservoir. Cool. Instant for a single blue mana, target non-snow permanent becomes snow until end of turn. Also, by the way, draw a card big next turn's upkeep. This is just like a card that literally does nothing, but does everything with this kind of a deck. Again, making a non-snow permanent snow has basically no effect at all for your deck. What does matter, though, is that you targeted the reservoir, meaning you get an extra copy of the reservoir. So all of a sudden now, whenever you're casting spells again, you are gaining more and more and more life. You're getting double that basically amount of life, because you're saying, you know what, I'm just going to get an extra reservoir. I'm going to cast a lot of spells. You know what, you can do it again. Mind game. Sure, okay, tap that reservoir. Who cares? Instant for a single blue mana, target artifact, creature, or land. You can also buy it back so you can cast it again and again and again and again. And all of a sudden, again, you got so many reservoirs in play, it doesn't even matter. You're gaining so much life, and your opponents are gone. Of course, there's other ways to win the game as well with Orvar, but that is just one example. Orvar is an absurd commander. If you've never seen it in action, well, oh goodness gracious. Count yourself lucky. If you're at the table, you might want to target this one first, because Orvar is disgusting and doesn't even need combat to win. Let's take a look at the next card, though, with Marilyn of the Mourn song. Now, this is a disgusting commander that, well, changes the game entirely. A 2/3 elf wizard for 3 mana in black. Players can't draw cards. Oh no! At the beginning of each player's draw step, the player loses 3 life, searches their life for a card, puts it in their hand, then shuffles their library. So basically, hey, you know what? It's okay. We're not drawing cards, but what we are doing is everyone gets to tutor. Yay! And you better tutor for the right thing first, because if you don't, you're just going to be done. You're just going to be donezo. It's going to be over. And sometimes it's just over anyways and doesn't even matter. This kind of a strategy typically likes to go rituals very quickly, as many rituals as they can, getting all the mana out right away, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, yeah, dark ritual, turn 1 Marilyn maybe, or turn 1 something else. That can really just, decimate your opponent's hopes and dreams. Like, oh, I don't know, opposition agent. Yeah, this is like a match made in heaven or somewhere else with Marilyn of the Mourn song, a 3/2 human rogue for 3 mana in black flash. You control your opponents while they're searching their libraries. While an opponent is searching their library, they exile each card they find. We play those cards for as long as they remain exiled. You may spend mana, lower mana of any color to cast them. Basically, your opponent's searches become yours. So, not only does this affect, well, like, fetch lands or, just like regular tutors, it of course also affects Marilyn of the Mourn song's tutor, meaning that, hey, opponents, while you can't draw cards, you can tutor. But, I tutor for you. And it's my tutor. So unless you've got a response in your hand, which maybe, again, I also have, ways to make you discard your hand entirely, then you kind of can't do anything. You're just going to be sitting there twiddling your thumbs, and I'm just going to sit here doing this. And, of course, then I can search for whatever combination of cards I need to win. You don't need to combat at that point, obviously, if you've locked your opponents out of the game. So, yeah, Marilyn Mourn song, a gross commander, a disgusting commander. Braids actually could have probably been led in this list as well, kind of here. Like, Braids is one that can lock down the game as well right away if you get into play quick enough with, like, a Dark Ritual. Yeah, Dark Ritual, Marilyn of the Mourn song type strategy is just absolutely brutal and effective and doesn't need combat to win. All right, buckle up for this next one, though, with Cann Ball, Console of Allocation. Kind of like the opposite of the first one that we talked about, like the opposite of, Mizzix, basically, where it's like, oh, not Spell Slinger. I mean, like, you can, but your opponents can't. No, they can't. 2/3 Human Advisor for 3 mana in Orzov. Whatever opponent casts a non-creature spell, the player loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. So, not only are you punishing your opponents when they cast those, but you are benefiting yourself, which also, ironically, can also punish your opponents, because you can also be running things like, Marauding Blight Priest. And again, kind of like I showed earlier with, like, Blood Artist and how many different Blood Artists we've gotten, there's quite a few Marauding Blood Priest type effects, too. A 3/2 Vampire Cleric for 3 mana in black. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. So, literally, when one of your opponents casts a non-creature spell, which happens all the time, they get drained by 2. You're also draining everyone else by 1. So, well, everyone else, them, by an additional 1, too. So it's basically draining them by 3. They're getting lightning bolted every single time they cast a non-creature spell. You're also gaining some life as well. And you could, of course, take advantage of that even further with Sanguine Bond, sure. Which, yes, can also combo. So if you got, if you've got the other combination part of it, the Exquisite Blood card, which is very expensive and very good, then of course that combos too, and also works well with Cann Ball as well. Enchant for 5 mana in black. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Yeah, this can be happening throughout the game quite a bit. You're going to be able to target your opponents and make them, go down a little lower, essentially in life total. Or Wound Reflection, just say, hey, you know what, everyone? We're just going to make it so that things go a little bit quicker in this game, right? We want to get more games in, right? Let's go a little bit quicker. A Wound Reflection is an enchantment for 6 mana in black. At the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to life they lost this turn. So basically, again, now instead of being 2, it's 4 plus all the other things that I am draining you with. Yeah, Cann Ball, Console of Allocation is something that's like a quit hitting yourself type of a commander. You can put even more aggressive things in play, like Polluted Bonds, things like that, where you're punishing your opponents for other reasons, other ways that they're doing things. You don't need to attack. You can just kind of pellet forward up. You can just sit there. You can control the board. You can put all these disgusting things in play. to just make it so that your opponents are having, well, not a miserable time, I guess. You're playing Commander still, but right, a time where you're taking yourself out. So please stop hitting yourself. Oh, you're hitting yourself. Oh, no, I'm sorry. All right, you're out of the game. Wait until you see this next one because, yeah, Zedru the Great-Hearted doesn't need to attack to win the game. Zedru is kind of along the lines of Beldiggriff in some people's opinions, basically, where it's like, oh, yeah, it can be like group huggy. It can definitely be built group huggy. This is not group huggy. This is like bear huggy. This is like, hey, you know what? I'm going to accidentally take you out. By accidentally, not at all. 2-4 Minotaur Monk for 4 mana in Jeskai. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain X life and draw X cards or X the number of permanents you can own that your opponents control. There we go, not opponents. And by paying 3 mana in Jeskai, target opponent gains control target permanent you control. Basically, I'm going to give out all these gifts. Here you go, here you go, here you go. Here's all these lovely things. Everyone gets all the good things. Except I'm a really bad gift giver, and I give the wrong things. I'm like, hey, you know what would be really good to give to you? How about Steel Golem? Here you go. It's a 3/4 for 3 mana. I believe it's a golem. Anyways, you can't cast summon spells or artifact spells. Basically, you can't cast creature spells. So basically with this, you're like, oh, if I play this for myself, this would just be a terrible idea. I can't play creatures at all. But maybe there's that player over there that really is dependent upon creatures. In fact, some decks have their Ludus all creatures. And you're like, oh, here you go. Have a Steel Golem. All of a sudden, you've shut down their entire strategy. Even if it's not their entire deck, you've shut down and thrown a massive wrench into their deck. And some decks can't even do anything once you do something like this. There's other kinds of cards that are like, you can't do this, you can't do that. And you're like, oh, here, take this really bad card. It's a bad gift. Or how about, oh, I don't know, Illusions of Grandeur. Enchantment for 4 mana. It's got a cumulative upkeep. Whenever it comes into play, you gain 20 life. When it leaves play, you lose 20 life. So basically, with this one, you play it and you're like, okay, cool, I gained 20 life. That's very nice. You know what would be really nice? If I gave this to an opponent. Here you go. Take it. It's great. So all of a sudden, they're like, oh, okay, I have this now. I didn't gain any life, but when it gets taken out, I lose 20. So yeah, this can be a way to take opponents out, or at least take them way down by giving them this, and then having a way to take it out. Speaking of which, 9 lives. Enchantment for 3 mana in white. Hexproof. If a source would deal damage to you, prevent that damage, put an incarnation counter on 9 lives. Whenever there are 9 or more incarnation counters on it, you exile it. When it leaves the battlefield, you lose the game. So this is one where it's like, okay, you play it, and you can actually utilize it for a while. You're like, all right, it's in play, cool. You know, I just say, oh no, damage. Okay, well, it didn't happen. Oh, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Don't worry about it. And then when you're ready, you say, hey, opponent, I'd like you to have this. You know what? I would love you to have 9 lives. And all of a sudden, they're like, oh no. Because either you have, of course, ways that get around the hexproof where you're not actually targeting this. You've got ways to just destroy all enchantments in play, essentially. Or, yeah, you just have a way to, deal 1 damage in a way. Or you have an opponent deal that damage for you. You don't need to attack with Zedru to actually get this done. So, yeah, Zedru is one where you definitely don't have to attack. You can just sit back, give out your bad gifts, and have your opponents, well, get taken out by those. Here comes a spicy one, though. Next up, we've got Yoro the Desecrated, a 3/5 elemental with Death Touch and Lifelink for 5 mana. Well, in 3 of the most powerful colors in this, game. Sultai. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Again, kind of like the OG of these commanders that was basically just like Panharmonicon, essentially. Teysa Karlov is, well, the OG Death Harmonicon. This is the OG Panharmonicon as a commander, but technically better than Panharmonicon because it includes things that aren't just creatures and artifacts. So yeah, this is a way to say, you know what, hey, ETB, let's double that up. Let's get some extra value out of it. And when it comes to ETBs, there are some massive ones that absolutely are lovely. I mean, of course, there's some great ones that could be like, yeah, you could go combat if you want to go like Avengers Zendikar, make a bunch of plans. Cool, all right, place some lands, get even more counters on them. Awesome, yes. You don't have to go that way, though. You can literally just get all this value, and you can just sit back and go, you know what? Hey, opponents, you built up your boards, too. I really appreciate what you're doing over there, but Massacre Worm, a 6/5 Phyrexian Worm for 6 mana in black. When it enters the battlefield, creature opponent control, get -2/-2 until end of turn. Whenever a creature opponent controls dies, they lose 2 life. So, that's an ETB that does double up. It takes up then, basically all the medium-sized to small creatures, 4 toughness or less, get taken out. But of course, in this deck, you're going to have some blink effects as well. You're going to have ways to say, okay, Essence Flux, for 1 mana, and then blink it again. All of a sudden now, it's -8/-8 on the turn, and all of your opponent's creatures are gone. They just lost 2 life for every single one of those creatures. They can get taken out with that. Or, of course, how about Gary, Grey Merchant of Asphodel? 2/4 zombie for 5 mana in black. Whenever it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life or X devotion to black. You gain life, your life lost this way. Basically, you're doubling that up again, which can be so deadly. And again, like I mentioned, yeah, blink effects, you're going to be having those. You might even have other ways like Panharmonicon to get even more out of the ETB. You don't need to attack. You definitely can attack. I'm not saying you can't. Again, there's definitely strategies where you're like, okay, yeah, making a massive amount of tokens on ETBs. You got a Hornet Queen, Avenger Zendikar, things like that. But you don't need to. You've got ways to say, you know what, I'm just going to sit back, relax, control the board. Again, have some ETBs that maybe take some things out. ETBs that maybe steal my opponent's things, Age of Treachery style. And being able to just say, you know what, I'm going to sit back, I'm just going to relax, no need to attack, and I'm just going to take you all out with these amazing effects and doubling up those amazing effects. And finally, one that I need to highlight because, well, yeah, this is a commander that, one of my most popular episodes of all time, my, all lands deck, basically, is something that can actually just win the game by technically not attacking ever because it can just be quite annoying. I'm pretty sure I gave the disclaimer in that episode that, like, hey, this is the type of deck that you need to actually ask ahead of time if they're okay with you playing it. Because, well, it can be quite obnoxious, and literally one of the win conditions could just be that your opponents quit the game. Like, they just actually quit the game. They're like, you know what? I'm done. You've exploded the Child of Alara too many times. I'm done. A 6/6 Avatar with Trample for 5 mana in Wooburg. I'm sorry, everyone. When it dies, destroy all non-land permanents that can't be regenerated. Yeah, even again in a 99 land shell where this is just all lands, you're like, okay, cool. Everything's a land. Child of Alara is here. That's all I need to do. Yeah, all you're doing is just getting Child of Alara out and then sacrificing it. Yep, you got plenty of lands that can do that. So you're just like, all right, get out of here. All right, destroy the board. And again, and again, and again. Eventually, your opponents might just quit the game because of that. That being said, of course, there are other ways to win the game outside of that. I mean, in that win condition, you can actually go Maze's End with all lands as well. Enters taps for a colorless, pay 3 tap, return this land to its owner's hands, supply for a gate card on the battlefield, then shuffle. You control 10 or more gates, whatever names you win the game. You can definitely do that, especially in a 99 land strategy with that. Yeah, you're not really taking a base spot in the deck when it comes to land. You're like, okay, cool, yeah, all right, awesome. I'll play my Maze's End, I'll get that going. That being said, Alex showed me the amazingness of this kind of a strategy, though. You can also go like mini Zedru in this with like something like Harmless Offering. A source for 3 mana. Target opponent gains swap target permanent you control. Again, any kind of donate type cards, you can utilize those. And again, utilize like 9 lives or like, Lich's Mastery. A legendary enchantment for 6 mana in black. Hexproof. You can't lose the game. Whenever you gain life, draw that many cards. Whenever you lose life, for each 1 life you lost, exile a permanent card you control. Per card to your graveyard. Leaves the battlefield, you lose the game. So basically, this is one where it's like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, I built an entire deck around this card. I love it. But it's another one of those cards that's like, oh, you have it. It's got an absurdly cool effect. But when it leaves, you lose. That being said, it does have a hexproof. But of course, that doesn't matter when you have a, Child of Alara. Because Child of Alara says, you know what? I donate this to my opponent. And all of a sudden, they have Lich's Mastery. Good for them. And then I sacrifice my Child of Alara. Yeah. All of a sudden, it doesn't matter that's got hexproof. It's just going to explode the entire board and say, incinerate everything. And by the way, oh, you had Lich's Mastery, you're gone. You lose the game. I don't need to get around that hexproof. I just eviscerated that and everything else on the board. So again, whether you are winning with Child of Alara with Maze's End, whether you are winning with, again, like Harmless Offering strategy with Lich's Mastery, or whether you are winning with just, hey, I exploded the board for the 14th time. Are you all sure you want to keep playing? Yeah, no? Okay, I understand. Yeah, this is definitely a commander that can do just that. Again, when it comes to Commander, there are many different ways to win in a game of Commander. There are so many ways to play the game. There are so many different ways, so many different strategies that people enjoy, and you don't even have to attack. Actually, one of them doesn't have to be attacking to actually win the game, which is kind of counterintuitive, because whenever I played, Magic for my first time, I was like, oh, that's how I have to win the game, right? I get creatures out, and I attack. But you learn when you keep playing, that there's other avenues, like Mystics of the Is Magnus, cast all the spells, and deal out all the damage. Beldiggriff, I mean, give people hippos that have consequences. It's kind of a way to say that. Marilyn the Mourn song. All right, hey, let's not draw cards, but let's tutor, but I'm the only one who gets to tutor, maybe. Or Cann Ball, like, hey, you know what, everyone, you go ahead and spell sling. That's fine with me, but you're going to be punished when you do so. And of course, I'm going to have other ways to punish, and other ways to make sure that, well, you take even more damage from that punishing. Orvar the Orvar and be like, okay, you know what? I can get in a massive army if I wanted to, but I don't. I just want to get one specific incredibly powerful thing in play. And then all of a sudden, I've got like 4 of them, maybe 5 of them, maybe 6 of them, and then I win the game. Taste of Karlov, sacrifice all the things, drain all the opponents with all the Blood Artists. Again, every single set seems like we get an extra Blood Artist. Zedru the Great-Hearted, give opponents gifts that are really bad for them and that lose them the game. Or Trada Valara, you can do the exact same thing. Give them gifts, make them lose the game, or just Mace's End, or just, again, literally, they concede because they don't want to play anymore and they maybe quit Magic. Kenri the Returned King, so many different combos. Literally just a, hey, you get infinite mana, you win the game combo on a commander that also has combos built into it. Oops, scroll too far. And Yoro the Desecrated, again, double up on all those ETBs, including some incredibly powerful ones like Gary. There's so many different ways to win the game. If you're interested in any of these cards, make sure you check out that card listing in the description below, and make sure you check out the episodes on these commanders. And of course, again, my apologies for the Trada Valara episode, but go check it out. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Make sure you comment below with your thoughts on this one. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.